And we're live. Welcome. Today we're going to be going to a place called Sutherland in the northern Cape of South Africa. And I'm going to show you a little picture of it. So, South Africa is located at the southernmost tip of Africa. There you can see it. And then on the right hand side, that little red area, that is Sutherland. And we're gonna have a look at and walk into the largest optical telescope in the southern hemisphere. But before we start that, I just want to explain. So there you can see, if you can see, far away from all the cities is the city, very small one street town of Sutherland. You can see it's far away from all the other towns, and there's a good reason for that, and it's a good reason why it was chosen to be the site of the largest optical telescope in the world, and that's because it needed to be away from all the sunlight and away from all the lights of the city. And so Sutherland is such an isolated place. It was chosen for the telescope. Welcome to everyone that's just joined. So today I'm going to be taking you to Sutherland. If you're looking on the map here, Sutherland is at a small isolated town in the northern Cape of South Africa, and that's where I'll be taking you today. It's gonna feel amazing. Being inside there, I can just tell you, hey Laurie, feels like and you'll feel the same way once you're there in the video. You'll feel it. It feels like something out of the movie Interstellar. It's such a massive building, and when you're inside, it just has that sort of interstellar feeling from the movie Interstellar. Of just seeing this amazing scientific instrument that is just bigger than you and like overwhelmingly huge. So here's the town of Sutherland. It really is like a one street town, not much going on. I think there's like 5 or 6 guest houses in the entire town. Sutherland itself is a town with about 2,800 inhabitants in the northern province of South Africa. It was founded in 1855 as a church and market town to serve the sheep farmers of the area. And today, sheep farming is still big there, and of course, tourism for people who want to come and visit the largest telescope in the southern hemisphere, optical telescope. Here's just one more picture because I wanted to show you this. This is where the telescopes are located. They're about a 15-minute to 20-minute drive outside of Sutherland. And if you're in the town of Sutherland, you won't be able to see the telescopes. They're quite far away. They're located on a hill, and the whole area you can see is covered in rolling hills. They're quite isolated even from the town of Sutherland. Okay, but let's begin. Well, let's start. So that here is the SAAO telescope. This is the one we're going to be going inside. It was completed in 2011. Yeah, so Sutherland's been at basically a little town for sheep farmers, but the nearby South African Astronomical Observatory has also recently played a role in the town's economy, and there's a major drive for tourism in the area. And what's really awesome is if you come to Sutherland, it's about a 4-hour drive from Cape Town, which is one of the big 3 cities in South Africa. It's about a 4-hour drive, beautiful drive, very isolated, very beautiful. And you can come here, you can do a tour of the telescope. Now, you're only allowed to come to the telescope during the day. Reason is, if you're driving up the mountain to get to the telescope, you know, your car's going to have lights on it, and so that's going to interrupt the astronomical observations that are being made. So you can see here the landscape is just really beautiful. This is a semi-arid landscape. In South Africa we call it the Karoo. And Sutherland has a very interesting climate. It's very remote, it's very arid. It's about 1,450 meters above sea level, and this is why it was chosen to hold observatories. It's because the night skies here are among the clearest in the world. It's a very isolated town in a very isolated province. There's not much going on, and it just that's what makes it the perfect place to have an observatory. You're away from the city lights, you can see all the stars. There's not much light pollution. Evelyn says it looks very deserty, like a part of the US. Yeah, so it's very like arid and dry. It's also the one of the coldest towns in South Africa, and I can tell you, when we were there at the guest house that we were staying at, they said to us, just to let you know, we've taken some water, we put it aside, because when you wake up in the morning, all the pipes are going to be frozen and you won't be able to get any water. So that's how cold it gets. Hey, Andrew. It's really, really cold. And of course, we visited in winter. Now, I came here to the observatory when I was a child with my family, and we actually went, this was before the large telescope was built. And we went, I mean, it must have been a lot smaller, but we went into this observatory at night. And I just remember it being huge. Now, at that time, this was like 20 years ago, all the astronomers were on site, which is really amazing to be able to go there and meet the astronomers and see them working late at night. It was just a memory I'll never forget. Nowadays, because of internet and all of that, the astronomers sit in Cape Town or all over the world, and there's high-powered internet that sends all the data that's recorded to Cape Town and then throughout the world. And so the only people that are really here at the observatory are the maintenance staff. But definitely 20 years ago, it was really cool to be part of, to be there with the astronomers. It was a pretty amazing experience. And all I remember as a child was being just super, super cold right down to your bones. It was that cold. But it's just beautiful being here. The memory and the starkness of the area is just so beautiful to walk around. Now let's talk about the latest telescope that we're going to be built. There's my family driving around. The biggest telescope in the southern hemisphere, in South Africa we call it the SAAO telescope, which just stands for South African Large Telescope. It was funded by a consortium of international partners. South Africa paid about a third of the amount. United States, Poland, India, and the United Kingdom also contributed. And it started operating. We were going to be able to go inside in 2011. These are just some of the smaller observatories. They're observatories from all over the world here in Sutherland, just because the location is just so perfect. If you want to get a sky that does not have light pollution, so the universities from across the world, you'll see them listed even when we go inside the SAAO telescope. There's a lot of research being done here. So just a really unique and amazing place to be. So yeah, it cost about 36 million to build, and South Africa paid about a third of that, with England and the United States, Poland and Germany and New Zealand and India contributing to the rest. Hey Mary, I can tell you now, like, even during the day over here it is extremely cold. Here we've got the University of Birmingham. There's also Japanese have an observatory here, so it's almost like a little mini United Nations, with so many countries represented here. Vanderbilt University. Now in a second we're going to be walking into the SALT telescope, which is, it's just over there, and that is going to be amazing. All I can describe it as is it felt at the time like I was in the movie Interstellar. Everything is larger than life and just massive, and they've made amazing discoveries using that telescope. Yeah, here's the Japanese one. Nagoya University has a little outpost here. And I don't know if I'm going to do this. Let's just have a look. We'll go have a look shortly at the view. The view is just spectacular here, and you can really get the sense of how isolated this observatory is. And even though we're only about a 15-minute drive from the town of Sutherland, you can't see the town of Sutherland. It will be obscured by mountains and hills. So it just really feels. Now that those little houses over there, that's where the maintenance staff stay. There's also a little museum, and they arrange tours from there every day. There's about 3 tours. Cindy's asking, is it windy? Yes, it was very windy and very cold. If I turn on the sound, you're just gonna hear the sound of the wind coming out. It's quite loud. Hey, Fran. So yeah, just a very stark and beautiful landscape. I just found it so interesting when I was up there. I was like, where's the town of Sutherland? I can't see it. But no, it was hidden away behind the hills. And of course, if you were able to see the town of Sutherland, that would be creating some light pollution. Here are my parents driving around just politely wondering when I'm going to jump back in the car. Now, if you want to come to the observatory and do a tour, you can do that. It's really reasonable. So you just have to drive about 4 or 5 hours out of Cape Town, and you're not going to find any Starbucks. There used to be some very humorously named restaurants. The one that I recall as a child, so it was when Halley's Comet was coming past, and the restaurant's name was an Afrikaans name, and the way it was named was Haley Se Kom Eet, which translates to Haley says come eat, but it sounded like Halley's Comet. And that was a clever play on words. Now we're going to go into the SALT observatory now, and this is going to be the most amazing part. So we're going to walk through. You have to be very careful. There's actually ice. When I was walking in, there was ice falling off the observatory. That's how cold it was. So you can see the sign there, visitors danger. It's because of falling ice falling off the observatory as you go in. There we are, SAAO, South African Large Telescope. Now, when you go inside the building, they give you some equipment. They give you some like a helmet to put on your head to just to keep you safe. And yeah, you can see all the technicians there on the right there. You can see that it was opened on the 7th of November 2011. And do not feed the astronomers. There's a little piece of glass you can look into and see what everyone's up to. This is a lift you can take. We're going to walk up the stairs. One of the discoveries they've made is they've discovered a quadruple star system. So I'm sure most of you have heard of binary star systems. That's a solar system that has 2 stars in it. One of the discoveries from this optical telescope, the SAAO telescope, has been the discovery of a quadruple star system. So here we're going to enter now. We're going to put on the equipment. Do not feed the astronomers. Yeah. Now this is it. Look at that. Isn't this amazing? We just need to add some interstellar music. There's the elevator if you need to take that. And I'm gonna get my helmet. Now inside the SAAO telescope, it was actually, I thought maybe there's going to be a temperature change because it was extremely cold outside the telescope, but no, they keep the telescope, the interior of the telescope, the same temperature as the outside. So it was freezing inside here. You can see a lot of universities from across the world. And wow, isn't that massive? Such a cool feeling to be here. So the SAAO telescope is a 9.2 meter optical telescope. So that means it's using glass. And at the museum, they have at the bottom of the hill, they have some of the glass from some of the optical telescopes. And it was just really interesting to observe how the glass works. Hey Annette. So I've got a video or picture of myself walking away from the glass, but I stay the same size. And it was just interesting or a mirror. It's just interesting to see how the mirrors work, how they're able to pick up stars that are far away. It actually enlarges things that are far away. It's just really interesting how they did that. Look at that, it's just epic. And towards the end of the video, they're going to turn on the rotor, and we'll be able to see the telescope move, which is going to be an amazing moment. My parents had been here before. This is my first time seeing the SAAO telescope. My parents had been here before, and they said we were really lucky because when we were there last time, when they were there last time, the telescope just stayed still. But we're going to be able to see it move today. Yeah, so it's a 9.2 meter optical telescope, mainly designed for spectroscopy. It consists, if you look at, those are the mirrors. It consists of 91 hexagonal mirror segments. They each have a 1 meter diameter, resulting in a mirror that's 11.1 by 9.8 meters. But the aperture is about still 9.2 because it's a bit curved. Hey, good to see you all, Susanna and Annette and Fran. Yeah, so what's amazing about SAAO is it's the largest optical telescope in the southern hemisphere. I always found it funny in South Africa, whenever we built something that was massive or huge or was the next biggest thing, we would always say biggest in the southern hemisphere. But to be honest, we didn't have that much competition. It was just like South Africa, Australia, South America, maybe New Zealand. So there wasn't that much competition going on. It's not, there's a lot more going on in the northern hemisphere than the south. So it's quite easy to make to make things sound quite grand. But still, this is an amazing accomplishment. Now, the great thing about this telescope, it allows us to look into the sky, and we're able to see things in this. It's able to pick up things in the sky that you can't see in the northern hemisphere, that are out of reach of those telescopes. Now, the mirror has a fixed altitude design, which limits access to about 70% of the sky, but still it's seeing the southern hemisphere sky. So it's seeing things that you won't be able to pick up in the northern hemisphere. And Fran is also picking up on this. She says South Africa has the perfect location for a large observatory and telescope array. Yes, and so another amazing thing, after the SALT telescope was built, they built something called SCAR, S-K-R, the Square Kilometer Array. In fact, a friend of mine, her husband, has worked on that. Those are radio telescopes, and actually in the neighboring town of Sutherland, they built those telescopes. And those telescopes originally, there were different countries bidding to host the telescopes, and they were just going to give them to one country. But they ended up putting these radio telescopes in a whole bunch of countries. I think Australia has some of the SCAR radio telescopes. We've got some, I think it's in the town of Calvinia, close to the town of Calvinia or Carnarvon, which is close to Sutherland, where they put those the SCAR radio telescopes. And of course, the radio telescopes are there, are also put here in the Northern Cape, because Northern Cape has the least amount of radio pollution. So this is what's so great about the Northern Cape. You don't have much light pollution, much radio pollution, and so that's why it's the perfect location for these sort of scientific instruments. Oh, it's moving. Is it moving? Yeah, we're really lucky to be able to see it move. Yeah, that's wow. We're extremely lucky to see that. So all these telescopes, they're on a hilltop, and it's about 1,837 meters above sea level, in a nature reserve. So it's really, really isolated. And this particular telescope, this particular telescope is actually based on another telescope, closely based on another telescope called the Hobby Early telescope at the McDonald Observatory. It has some changes in design, but they share the same fixed mirror altitude design, which limits the access to about 70% of the sky. But isn't it just amazing being here? I can just tell you that it was extremely cold inside the telescope. You can see we're all dressed warmly. And now they do have a problem. There are birds and bats that fly inside, and so they are able to take out the mirrors one by one and clean them to get rid of any dirt or dust or anything that animals have created. But yeah, all these on against all the walls, you can see like these what looks like like these boxes. That's keeping the temperature of the observatory the same as the outside, so you don't have condensation occurring because of the temperature differential. So as cold as it is inside is as cold as it is outside. The temperature is maintained. Here you can get, there you can get a better sense of the mirrors. Yeah, that is in one massive, there's the Dartmouth University, a lot of international universities taking part. And if you're an astronomer, you can book some time, and you want to study something in the sky in the southern hemisphere, you can book some time, aim the telescope at the area that you need to, and you can do your research. And all the observatories here in Sutherland, astronomers book them out for different periods and do their research. Yeah, so that's the observatory. Amazing space to visit. I mean, you can see here, look at that shot from outside. Just the landscape is surreal, so isolated and beautiful, and definitely one of the top attractions to come to if you ever find yourself in South Africa. When I went to South Africa for just under a month, and I wanted to do this road trip with my family, and I'd been to Sutherland as a child before this SAAO telescope had been built, and I knew that I wanted to go back here to visit and go inside, and it was amazing. I'm so glad I got to share it with you. But there's lots more. So I think next week we're going to be going to the deepest gold mine in the world. And the funny story about the deepest gold mine in the world is that it's actually located in a theme park. So we'll see a little bit of the theme park, then we're going to take an elevator down into the deepest gold mine in the world. We'll learn a little bit about how gold is mined in South Africa. It's a really interesting process, and then we'll come up again. Laurie's asking, are you still living in Hong Kong? Yes. Yeah, so let's close our video. Yeah, so glad to see you, so glad to be back, and that's what's happening next week. So thanks so much for joining. I know I've been away for a while, but looking forward to be back, looking forward to showing you more amazing places in South Africa. See you soon. Thanks for joining. Bye.